Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the part two of the State of the Union interviews with Accra Professor Aryeetey. My name is Akora Shanti McCarthy of the 1990 Year Group, and today we are going to talk about the Achimota School lands. We're going to talk about the Achimota School Endowment Fund, and we will talk about the performance of the Achimota School students in the last 10 years, time permitting. Please come along as we get well informed about the situation on the ground. Thank you for your time.
Which has been uh, encroached upon largely, a part of the forest, is also vested in the school. So the problem that we have is on a number of different sites. A large part of the problem of encroachment is along this road and then beyond it. A large part of it is to the northwest of the school land. And then in the last couple of years, we also had problems here behind Anumle, where the Osumankralo stole 172 acres of land. Of course, in this area, in the forest area, a number of squatters have encroached on the land with temporary structures mainly. And then, of course, also on the school land, there are many other developments. Some of that with permission from the school, others without permission from the school. So the hospital, for example, which is right here, the hospital occupies land that was provided by the school for the purpose of health. Indeed, the hospital used to be a part of the school. The unfortunate thing is that the Ministry of Health has developed more land than was originally available to the hospital. Now, under what conditions that was permitted and so on, nobody talks about. Achimota Preparatory School was quite recently in the news in view of all the altercation with the Ghana Education Service. Under what conditions they are there, again, that's something that a court has already ruled on and decided that they've outstayed their welcome, or overstayed their welcome. Very problematic on this side are quite a number of developments. And quite a number of developments, a large number of well-built, modern, large structures that have been built by individuals and companies and so on, estate agencies and so on. Clearly, the biggest problem that we have is on this side. And there are many reasons for it. Some of the reasons come from the misunderstanding between the school and the Owu family, which led to a number of developments taking place as a consequence of that misunderstanding. To a very large extent, we've had court rulings in our favor that allow us to. So you may have heard about the Netlink versus Achimota School case, which we won quite recently. So we have won the court case. They actually took us to court. We didn't. They took us to court for trying to retrieve our land from them, and we have been successful in the litigation. The challenge we face now is how to enforce the decision of the court. There are problems in the sense that when we've even been able to identify the structure and gone on there to try and serve whoever is occupying the facility or the structure with the judgment, we found, and I learned that from our lawyer today, that many people who actually participated in the litigation against us have sold the property and left, which means that new occupants, new residents have bought land or have bought property in this area that's under litigation or has been a litigation. That provides new challenges for us on the legal front, but it's one that clearly, as a result of the nature of the judgment we last received, we should be able to pursue. There are many different types of buildings there. There are those that are very close to facilities that are occupied by teachers of the school, especially in this area, where private developers have built very, very close to a bungalow, sometimes between two staff bungalows, that a developer comes and tries to put up a structure. These are those that we are fighting with and have sometimes gone ahead to demolish with backing from the Okankwe North Assembly. So there have been some demolitions that have taken place. We haven't done in recent times any demolition on this part, but it's something that we will do if we have to do. The Osuman problem was here in this area, 172 acres of land, which was stolen. I say stolen because the Osuman Kralo knew that he never had any interest there. He never owned any property there. But through misrepresentation to the Lands Commission and through connivance of staff of the Lands Commission, was able to secure 172.8 acres on the blind side of the school. Luckily, we won the case at the Supreme Court, which then brings it back to the High Court that originally had jurisdiction over it to make the final determination. But as a result of winning the case at the Supreme Court, the likelihood, indeed, it's unlikely that the High Court can overturn the. So effectively, we have dealt with the Osuman Kralo. We have dealt with the Osuman Kralo. You did mention that are there any Akoras involved in all the encroachments? I cannot tell you that there are Akoras involved. I mean, in the NetLink case, there were 77 names that have been presented. When I went through the list of people, I didn't see any familiar Akora names that I can mention to you. Of course, other people may know differently. I do hear that from time to time, there's an Akora who has something. I have no record of that. And so I cannot pronounce on it. So this is the nature of the situation that we have. Let me see if I can summarize all of it. Let me see, how do I move this? So these pictures show you some of the development that we have. The green area is the golf course area. Shows you all the developments that we have on Achimota school lands. And so the different types of structures, those that are controlled by the school and those that are not controlled by the school. If you go to the western side, the types of buildings there, occupied by University of Ghana staff, by GIMPA staff, by CSR staff. So there are a number of people who are sharing our facilities with us, some of them with our permission, others without our permission. The bottom line is that, okay, so this is what you see on that Agri Road as you drive towards Legon. That's the Pure Fire Church. That's all these developments. They are all on Achimota school lands. What do you do with them? What do you do? And that is what we prevail upon the government to allow us to tackle by giving the school board the authority to lease land. You know, when I say we went to the government or went to the president to give us authority to lease the school. So here, for example, in this one, you see a development taking place, a private development between bungalows on the Western compound. That's the kind of thing that we easily go and seek to demolish. There have been all these developments all over the place, and we basically are trying to deal with them. So this here, I'm trying to get to the bottom. Yeah, this is a summary of, so Achimota School has 1,080.752 acres of land. The school itself, what is available to the school, both on the western compound and the eastern compound for use, is 283 acres. The golf course occupies about half of that, 147 acres. The Girl Guides Training School there takes about 19 acres. Achimota Hospital takes 15.9 acres, and then the police station 3.56 acres. So all of these is about 185.95 acres. Encroachments, taking about a little more land than is being used by the school. So encroachments take about another 331 acres. So the total developed area available, a total developed area is 800.33 acres, meaning that only about 279.67 acres of Achimota school land today is unencumbered. That's what it is. About 280 acres of land is still unencumbered. The challenge that we are trying to address is how to ensure that this 331 acres of land that has been encroached upon provides some benefit to the school. That is what we've been trying to address. How do we ensure that this 331 acres of land that is being used illegally by different entities can yield some benefit to the school?
So what you are saying is that, if I may ask, these 331 acres of land, there is no way we can redeem it. It's gone.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's been taken illegally by some entities.
That's right.
But the courts have ruled that they still belong to us.
Okay.
So we have and they've said we can do whatever we like. So we have a number of options. Some people, and I've heard many people say, go and knock down those buildings. Go and knock down those buildings that I showed you pictures of. Others have said, why knock them down when you can take them over and use them for something else? You know, like rental facilities, staff bungalows, whatever. Others, that's another position. The position that the OAA took at the AGM held in 2019 was that we should not have to go and knock down any building. Let us ask government for consent to be able to regularize the occupation of the land for a fee that we paid annually. And so that is the position that the OAA took, that let's have the consent to regularize the use of the land for a defined period, and that they pay fees, whatever charges they are, to the Achimota school. And there should be a land trust established that will collect all the revenue that will come from this to be used for the development or the further development of the school. So that is the position that the OAA officially took at the AGM. And that's the position that we presented to the government, to the president. And that's the position that the president accepted. And so that is, so the challenge now is how to practicalize that, how to establish that trust. There has been some attempt made in concert with the Ministry of Education to do it. The OAA has expressed its misgivings about how that has been done, largely because it vests a lot more authority in the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service than was anticipated. Let me illustrate our position to you. When the colonial government decided to acquire or to purchase this land for Achimota School or Achimota College, It created the governing council. It created a governing council and chose deliberately to vest all of that land in the council. There was a Department of Education, which is probably today the Ministry of Education, and yet the governor, through the Legislative Assembly, decided to vest it in the governing council. So it will be wrong on our part, we believe, today, to give that authority vested in the council to a Ministry of Education. The question that we should be avert our minds to is, why did the colonial government opt to vest it in the council as opposed to the Department of Education? Okay. To my mind, or even to, and it says that except in situations where you want to divest yourself of the land to a third party, the governing council can use the land for anything, so long as in the interest of Achimota School. If you want to divest yourself of it to a third party, you need the permission of the governor in those days. And the governor today is represented by the president. That's why we went to the president for that consent to be able to. Why did the colonial government give it to the council and not to the Department of Education? It wanted Achimota School to be free from politics. That was the whole thing, to be free from politics. So you don't have a situation where politicians using the Legislative Assembly or Parliament or the ministry or anything to interfere with the use of the land. So it created a governing council. There were some, when in the Osu Mankalo case, the argument being made was that the governing council, the school board today, had no capacity to pursue this. The Supreme Court laid that to rest. Says the governing council, the school board does have capacity. So we do not see ourselves in a position to divest ourselves of the authority given us by the instrument setting up the school and by the instrument creating these lands and vesting them in the school council, giving that to the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service. And so that's where we are on this thing. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So it looks like, I mean, from what you're saying, we've lost a bit of ground as a school because, I mean, like you said, the founding fathers vested that authority in the hands of the governing council. And now we have a situation whereby it looks like Ghana Education Service has a lot of influence in the day-to-day running of the school and things to do with the school. You also mentioned that with the 331.06 acres that has been encroached upon, you met the government or you met the president, and you've been you mentioned to the government that you wanted to levy the people, more or less, find a way to get some money from the occupants for the benefit of the school. And then you also mentioned that you are yet to see, or you're yet to proceed or make a move on what to do with the people there, as in how to proceed based on the kind of judgment you've received from the courts. Then you also mentioned that sometimes you go forward to try and do something about the situation, and you realize that the person who builds the place has already sold the place to another person. So what we really want to know is, what is the master plan going forward? What have you guys decided to take action on? I mean, what are you going to do? What should we expect from you with regards to the encroached lands?
I am worried that you might be asking too much of me. This is the responsibility of the school's board. All that the OAA is doing and can do is to support the school board. So the approach to the government, for example, for consent to regularize, went from the school board. It didn't go from the OAA. Does not have the legal authority to pursue that. The OAA can assist the school. The OAA has supported the school in as far as suggesting that let us establish this trust to pursue this objective of regularizing, and then the trust to be able to mobilize the resources. The OAA has said a part of the resources that you do mobilize from this should be vested in the Achimota School Endowment Trust Fund. A part of it should be used for the regular maintenance of the school, and other things to be determined by the trust. The OAA insisted that the trust should be an independent trust. It should be independent as far as possible. So the members of the trust will be in there by virtue of their qualifications as professionals, and also interests of the OAA and other maybe GES and so on. But basically, it should be as independent as possible. Independent in mobilizing these things on behalf of the school board. On behalf of the school board. So if you ask me going forward, what we want to see is the trust established. What we want to see is the structures that will facilitate the rapid deployment of various individuals and facilities for mobilizing resources from the developments to take place, appointing people that will be responsible, finding the money to pay them initially. And so these are the first things that should be done. But going forward also, I think that the school board needs to work on a master plan for the school. We've talked about that. A master plan that will cover the 1,080 acres of land that will show exactly how developers will proceed from now on until whenever. You know, if by all means, Achimota School is going to be around for a very long time, there will be no point whatsoever in developing every acre of land available to the school. We should be able to have a future in which 100 years from today, 200 years from today, there will be land that can be developed for new things that Achimota School will be pursuing. Who knows what Achimota School will be like in 100 years? And it will need land for new things. So I am not at all in a hurry to see that every acre of land at Achimota is developed. Let us make sure that what is available is kept for the school. So as things change in a 50 years, in 100 years, there will be land available for those things. Right now, there's a bit of tussle in terms of the structure of the school board itself. That needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. And once that is resolved, we need to think about having the trust established properly and working as independently as possible in the interest of the school.
Wonderful. Do we have a current school board?
Do we have the current school board? Yes, there is a school board. The school board should have been reconstituted a little over a year ago. It has not been done, and I've seen a letter from the Regional Director of Ghana Education Service saying that the existing school board should continue in office until a reconstituted board is put in place. So as at 13th April, there is a letter that says that the current school board should continue. So there's a school board.
So how long are they going to continue for? I mean, what is the plan?
My understanding is the reason why there is no school board, no new or reconstituted school board, is that the process of putting it in place was stalled last year by COVID, and then the also trying to seek approvals for each of them. Anybody proposed to membership of the school board needs approval of the appropriate security agency. You need to go through the security clearance, and I understand that process has been unduly delayed. So that is the latest explanation. but I understand that GES is working on reconstituting the school board. The OAA has sent its nominees for the school board to the regional director for consideration.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my probing, but is it true that the current chairman of the school board has resigned?
I am not aware that he has resigned. I am aware that he was not going to be available for the reconstituted school board.
Okay. So who decides who can be a member of the school board? I mean, can you educate us a bit about this whole school board thing? I mean, what is the total number of people who can be on the board? And what is its constitution? I mean, what is it? How many people from the OAA? How many people from Ghana Education Service? What is it made up of, please?
Let me refer to my notes on this. I want to make sure that I get you the right number. I'm struggling to find basically the regional director of education is responsible for constituting a school board, and there are provisions for it in the Education Act. And I understand that there's a new pre-tertiary education Act 2020, which specifies the composition of a school board. Now, in this arrangement, the regional director or his or her representative is a member of the school board. The district director of education is a member of the school board. There's representation from the municipal assembly of the area. The PTA has a representation. The Old Students Association has 2 representatives on the school board. And then there are what they call the interests, the special interests groups and so on. In other places, it will be the church. So in Wesley Girls, the Methodist Church. In Adisado, the Anglican Church. St. Augustine's, the Catholic Church. They also have representation on the school board. And then the staff associations, for teaching staff, will have a representative, and then the non-teaching staff will have a representative. The head of the school is also a member of the school board. Then there's provision for the members of the school board to elect their chair.
Wow. So we can have a chair who is not an Akora?
Yes, precisely. Yeah, it's possible, yes. And there's also provision for co-opting not more than 2 people who, by virtue of special skills and special interests, can be on the school board for specific considerations.
Wow. Interesting.
So if you look at the current board, the chair was representing OAA.
That's right.
I'm a member of the board. I also represent OAA. By the OAA constitution, the president of OAA is always a member of the school board. Okay. So I do that, and then there's another member who has been elected as the chair of the school board. The PTA chair is an Akora. The 2 people, by virtue of the special interests that we have on the board, are also Akoras. So by and large, all the non-GES related persons on the board are Akoras. So we do have a significant voice on the board.
Wow. Okay. Going back to the land thing, because like I said, we really want to get to the bottom of it and see the way forward. What is happening to the sewage system that we used to have around the school farm, and what is happening to the school farm too? Have they all been encroached upon?
You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was invited by the, I think, 1995 year group.
1996.
1996 year group, yeah, sorry, to chair the handing over of the school farm to the school, rehabilitated school farm. They've done a marvelous job. There's a poultry farm there, and then there's a piggery. They've done a marvelous job of rebuilding the structure. And this structure is located right in the middle of all the unauthorized developments that I shared with you toward the northwestern part of the school. But it's the sign, it's a sign from the OAA, from other stakeholders, that the need to bring back the school farm to what was originally conceived is urgent. So that's what is being done. So the sewage system has more or less been condemned, largely as a result of developments that have taken place around it, and then even on parts of the land that was used for the sewage system. I understand that the Assembly, together with AMA, are looking at connecting the school to another sewage system that has been developed for that part of the city. So yes, the school farm is coming back with support from the 1996 year group. It has seen rehabilitation, and I do hope that as a result of that, we will see better and better teaching of agricultural science at the school.
Thank you. We do have some pictures that we got through our research for the interview, and we'll be sharing those pictures in a few minutes. We'll be sharing the screen, the pictures on the screen. But that is to let the viewers know the extent of the encroachment and the fact that we all have to be up and doing, or arise and speak out and do whatever it is that we have to do to stop it. Because as we speak, another thing I want to find out from the prof is that, does it mean that the encroachment has stopped altogether, or as we speak, we still have people who are building?
The last time I went to the area was when we went to do the 1996 event. And all the developments that I saw were things that had taken place over time. Every now and again, I hear of new developments in the area. I cannot verify how long ago these took place. I'm not in a position to make any particular claims on that score. But I would not be surprised if they have been. I mean, Akora is such that every day there are new developments taking place. It's difficult to police them. My understanding is that in the area behind Anumle, where the Osuman Kralo interfered with the school's property, all developments have stopped. That's how I understand it. So any new developments may be on the northeastern side. We do have an understanding with the Okankwe North Municipal Assembly to knock down any new developments that are supposed to be taking place. We have been assisting their efforts with facilities. We've been providing them fuel. We've been providing them with financial support to be able to undertake the task of policing that side of the land. So I cannot vouch for new developments or the absence of them, But I can say that we are doing our best to ensure that every new thing there is reported to the Assembly.
Thank you. Whilst we look at the images being shared, what I want to also find out is there was a mention of a school wall being built. And I believe my year group was even supposed to have, we were thinking of making a donation towards that for our 30th anniversary donation or contribution. And I don't know, but what is the situation with the school wall? I mean, are we still thinking of building a wall? And what is the current situation with that?
Thank you. There is a fence wall being constructed around the school. This followed a commitment made by the president when he attended Founders Day on the 90th anniversary celebration of the school. He made a commitment and got to get fund to support. So the fence wall that you see coming up along the Agri Road is being done. Using the contract that was put in place between the GET Fund, which is the funding, which is providing support, the finances for the project, and the Field Engineers Regiment. So the GET Fund gave the Field Engineers Regiment the contract to undertake the assignment. It's not being done by OAA, it's not being done by the school itself. It's being done by the government using the GET Fund facility. So we haven't tasked year groups yet to provide resources, largely because we are assured of support for it. The project has been stalled largely because of interference from the Osuman Kralo. The Osuman Kralo took some legal actions against the military for undertaking the project, and that case was eventually thrown out. But the military, for some reason, trying to preserve its own image and its reputation, has been a bit slow in continuing with the project. We have spoken to GET Fund to provide resources for the other parts of the project that are not in contention to resume, and that's being considered. So as I speak to you, we are still talking to GET Fund to get this project completed. It's very important for the school. It helps to protect the parts of the school that have not been encroached upon yet. At least by fencing off these places, you are assured that everybody knows what belongs to Achimota School and will not interfere with its usage or development in the future.
Thank you very much. It looks like you guys are doing your best. And
could I make a comment, Dr. Baita, 65-year group? That's excellent, Dr. Aryeetey. You know, the area is so large that I don't think I mean, the area that was originally given to Achimota School is so large that, to me, it doesn't make sense putting a wall around the whole area if you want to maintain the purity of the area that Achimota School received. And I think it would be stupid to try and bring down the structures already made. There's so many of them. To me, it would make more sense to charge them for the use of the land and use that money to fund the school for projects that need to be done. The difficulty is that in today's world, 100 years from now, we're really not going to know if the school will actually need land or not. So I think it's important to preserve the entire area and charge the people who have built. And if you jack up the price, at least they can fund the school.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baita. And what you are saying is exactly what we are doing. That's exactly what we are doing. The fence wall is not for the entire 1,080 acres of land. The fence wall is for what has been developed already, or parts of the land have not been encumbered yet around the southeastern part of the school. So we are not putting a fence wall around the northwest developments.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy that we are all getting involved. This conversation is going on, and I'm sure.
Professor Aryeetey, this is Dr. Victor Timobing. Thank you for sharing this wonderful information to us. Could you bring up that map you showed and show us which section the wall is, the wall that you talked about is where it's being put up?
I don't know if you see, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, now we can see it.
Let me try to move it to. Okay, so the fence wall started from here. This is the intersection with the traffic lights. So we started from Achimota Preparatory School here. There was a problem, and then so they did a few feet along this road, and then they started the other phase, which moves from the golf course here. So what they've been doing is working along this road. Animal Village is here. The fence wall has covered the most part of this. And it was going to come from here and then continue this way, basically covering leaving this part of the land not touched, but more or less preserving this. I hope it's clear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a quick question. You mentioned Achimota Preparatory School.
Yeah.
What is happening with Achimota Preparatory School, please?
I don't have the latest information. All I know is the school was granted judgment as far back as 2008. Effectively, Achimota Preparatory School had was occupying land that had been leased to it. That lease had expired, and as far as I can remember, it had not been renegotiated. The school had issues with the preparatory school in terms of how the facility was being used, how the land was being redeveloped, and so on and so forth. A court had given judgment in favor of Achimota School. to reoccupy its land, which enforcement had been extremely difficult. As far as I have learned recently, the Ghana Education Service had stepped in as the custodian of Achimota School to more or less force the school's authorities to come sit down for a proper discussion. So the intervention was not engineered by Achimota School. The preparatory school is occupying land that rightfully belongs to the school, but to Achimota School. That lease has lapsed and has not been renegotiated, and they've shown no interest at all in renegotiation, effectively laying claim to land that does not belong to them.
Thank you. Thank you. So on the lands issue, I believe we are going to move on. This is about how far we can come for today. If anything comes up again, I'm sure in the next interview we'll bring it up. But thank you for the information you've passed on to us today. And we will see how it goes from there. We are going to talk about the endowment fund, the Achimota School Endowment Fund. What is the current situation with the endowment fund?
The endowment fund was established way back, and the trust was founded in 1991. The way it's currently funded is for each year group to contribute 500 Ghana cedis annually. The whole year group to contribute 500 cedis annually. At the AGM that we had in 2019, the report showed that only 23 year groups had made contributions, thus giving us a revenue of 11,500 Ghana cedis for 2019. In 2020, only 25 year groups have made contributions. So the problem that we have is that year groups are not making the necessary contributions. That is the problem that we have. The year groups are not making the necessary contributions. So if only 25 year groups out of more than, I'm not sure the number, at least 60 or so year groups that are active should be able or should be providing to the endowment trust fund. In, let me see, I got some data here. Let's say that in 2020, we got contributions from the 1956 year group, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 60, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 1980, 85, 87, 88, 89, and the 1990, 1992. What is striking from this list? What is striking from this list is the fact that the year groups from the 1990s, the year groups from the 1990s, to 1991, 1990 has paid, 1992 has paid, but all the others from 93, 94, 95, they haven't paid anything. It's what I find interesting because these are the year groups that have active, very senior people, wherever they are, in the private sector, in the public sector. They are the chief executives, and they are those who are not paying, making their contribution to the endowment trust fund. That worries me. It worries me because it tells me that younger Akoras have a lesser commitment to the school than the older ones. If 70-year-olds are paying, what stops a 40-year-old from paying? 40-year-olds who are running banks, running private companies, and so on. That is the problematic part. But We are going to work on that. I've been talking to Professor Diamond, I've been talking to various people on the Endowment Trust Fund. We are going to find ways of mobilizing funds apart from the commitments that are supposed to be made by the year groups. I haven't mentioned this to anybody, but I don't see why in the coming year we shouldn't be able to raise at least $1 million for the Endowment Trust Fund. Not coming from land, but through proper fundraising. We're going to engaging. I don't know if you know Yabenam Ponsam. Yeah, a lot. I think it's for 1990. Sorry.
I think it's 91.
1991. Okay. So Yao is going to help us to really raise a lot of money for. But the fact I mentioned Yao doesn't mean that you are all absolved from making contributions. I'm going to sit down with Professor Diamond and his team. We're going to discuss how best to generate more resources, how best to invest the resources and get the returns that are essential for running the school. We should have a target. There'll be a lot of activities that we want to put in place and that the year groups will have to commit. We can't sit down and let 70-year-olds pay for the Endowment Trust Fund while 40-year-olds don't. No, it's not acceptable. So let's change that.
Is it not to do with communication? Is it not to do with how we reach out to them? I mean, in my year group, apart from reading about the endowment fund, maybe via social media or whatever means, I never really got to know what the endowment fund was and what the responsibility of the year group is towards the endowment fund. I was there one time when I saw an announcement on the WhatsApp platform saying that the president had paid the money for the endowment fund, but I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know how much had to be paid. So I think when you look at the whole Accra setup, the communication side of things is something we really have to look at and to see how better we can communicate with Accras all over the place. I mean, some of them are busy, especially, let's say, the people I can talk about are the people in the US. They are very busy. They don't have much time to, let's say, pay attention to what is going on. But I believe that if we find a way to reach them, if we find a way to personalize letters to them, if we find a way to make phone calls to them, we will be able to get a whole lot more out of them. Another thing I wanted to ask is, have we thought about the issue of here in America, people give part of their life insurance benefits to their former schools. Have we thought about systems like that? I mean, engaging people to think about having Achimota as a beneficiary on their life insurance and stuff like that. Are we thinking in those lines? And like I said, the communication has to be very, very effective. I mean, a school I'm affiliated with reaches out to me almost every year, telling me that, oh, we are having a fundraising. Last year, you were able to give that amount of money. We are very happy. And this year, we'll be happy if you can help, or you can contribute towards whatever it is that we are doing. How many Accras worldwide are we able to reach out to via our communication tools to ask of them to give back to the school? And personally, I believe that if we have a system in place that reaches out to all these Accras wherever they are, I mean, if you are there and you get a letter from the OAA or from Achimota School, you will find it a bit exciting. And is it $50? Is it $100? Is it $500? Is it $1,000? You may be willing to do it because they reached out to you personally. Because with this school that I'm talking about, what they do is they get volunteers. So they get people who are in the school currently, and they make those calls. They make calls individually to us, and they tell us that, hey, this is what we are trying to do, and we need you to. And they are successful in what they do. So I think those are some of the things that we have to look at. But on the same subject, what I want to find out is, so how much do we have in our endowment?
I can't give you, Prof. Minister is here. I don't know if he can give us any figures at the moment. Prof. You are muted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't have the figures with me now, but just about 3 days ago, or about a week ago, we got, every month we issue the monthly account. We got our figures just a few days ago. We have some investments with Data Bank. We have some investments with EcoBank. I cannot give you the exact figures, but it's not much to write home about.
So we can say,
As was said, the year group contributions have not been forthcoming in spite of all the efforts that we have put in over the years. The communication issue that you are talking about, we've done all that. We even tried to involve the students, as you said, those who are in the school at the moment could be involved. We tried, as was done, to raise funds to build the Agri Chapel. But we were told that GES will not take too kindly to it. They will say that we are misusing the students these days of human rights issues. So we have to abandon that particular strategy. But we are looking at other strategies to see if we can, we've paid visits to the year groups, talked to them during their meetings. They give promises, but, it's not as effective as we would all have liked it to be.
Professor Diamonds, can this information be shared on the OAA website, the monthly reports that you're talking about? And if not, why not?
I didn't hear your question. Can you repeat the question, please?
He says, can the monthly reports be shared on the website? Yes.
Okay.
We can do it.
Well, because we are a subcommittee of the OAA, we send our report to the OAA Secretariat. So if the OAA wants to share this with the entire OAA group, they are free to do so.
Okay.
But our mandate is to send our reports to the OAA Secretariat.
Professor Aryeetey, what is the goal of the fund? How much money are we trying to raise?
I've just said that we would like to raise for up to next year $1 million and invest it and then use the returns to do various things. So we are going to launch a very serious program very soon for targeting $1 million over a 1 year period.
What does soon mean?
Soon means as soon as we are able to organize ourselves properly.
Yeah, but what does it mean? I mean, what time frame are we talking about?
I said before next year.
so
sometime in 2020.
We want to put in place a mechanism that would, let me be more personal here. Our term as OAA executives will end in April next year.
Okay.
And we want to be sure that by the time we are leaving, there'll be $1 million for the Endowment Trust Fund.
Okay.
I hope, and I do hope that people like you will help us to do it. Harold Richardson has just sent me.
The reason I'm asking these questions is that, I would like to help you do this.
I'll be coming back to you.
With all across around the world, we should be able to raise $1 million.
Yes,
I think
I'll be coming back to you. Don't worry.
yeah.
Harold Richardson has sent me.
I look at the amounts of money that we raise for funerals and so on. My goodness.
Yeah.
For the living, we should be able to raise that kind of money for in a year.
In the endowment fund brochure, there are ways to give that have been mentioned, and they talk about gift of cash, check, and so on that we do. Anybody can make. They talk about marketable securities. They talk about bequests, leaving a gift through your will, and so on. They talk about insurance policy. How there are 3 options available and so on. He would have liked me to share that screen, but I can't do that because of how I received it. And so, yes, the Endowment Trust Fund has already conceived ways in which things can make easy for Akora to make contributions. And we'll be sharing this out. But one thing that, Shanti, I think we need to avert our minds to, the roles of year groups. Now, each year group is supposed to contribute 500 cedis a year. It is not for the OAA to go around chasing every single Akora. It is the responsibility of the year group. So the year group president is the one who communicates to members, whether they are in America or they are in the UK or they are in South Africa. It is, you see, I'm very worried that many of our year groups do not take our responsibility to the OAA seriously enough. Mm-hmm. You know, if the year group owes the Endowment Trust Fund 500 cedis, the president knows it because he receives a demand note. Mm-hmm. It is for him or her to come back to you as year group member and say, look, we need to pay 500 cedis to OAA, to the Endowment Trust Fund. And so I would like to see a future where year groups are much better organized, not just for funerals, not just for birthday parties, not just for their own celebrations, but also knowing that the reason why they exist as a year group is to support the OAA. Mm-hmm. So the OAA is not independent of them. They do have a responsibility. And I would like to see year group presidents live up to that expectation.
Okay, if I may just chip in, when was the last time that the OAA met with the presidents of the year group? Is there any meeting like that?
The OAA is mandated by the Constitution to have quarterly meetings with year group reps. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We used to have these regularly, but invariably, after going to meet at the Senate Guest House, which is the usual meeting place, you go, there will be about 7-8 people. And 7-8 people will discuss things. And the feedback to the year groups was extremely poor because the people who represent the year group at this meeting don't take anything back to the year group. Mm. So what I did over the past couple of years was to have a meeting with the year group presidents. Okay. We had meetings with the year group presidents. We haven't had any meeting in the last year, likely because of COVID. Mm-hmm. But before COVID, it was this meeting with the year group presidents that agreed that each year group should pay 5,000 cedis or dollars to the science block. Okay. So we do have, and we have created a WhatsApp platform for all year group presidents. Oh. So I can assure you that the Secretariat maintains constant communication with year group presidents. What I don't know is whether the presidents transmit whatever they learn from the Secretariat to their year group members. Now I would like to see an improvement of that.
I think
Mr. President, if I may volunteer further information. Mm-hmm. In other parts of the world, groups normally engage a fund manager or a fundraising company to do the fundraising for such endowments and get a percentage. We tried that with 2 fund management companies in the country. Originally, the proposal they brought gave the impression that they will do the fundraising, manage it, and get their percentage. But when later on further negotiations with them revealed that the small print indicated that we will do the fundraising and then give the money for them to manage. And yet the percentage they were going to take was quite substantial. So we thought that that was not viable. We've tried this on 2 companies and it hasn't worked. So we are looking, and that's why we are looking at other possible avenues.
Wow, this is very interesting, and it looks like this conversation really has to continue for some time.
Shanti, you did ask how much the Endowment Trust Fund has.
Yeah.
As at now, as at the end of December 2020, total investments made by the trust fund amounted to 240,000 Ghana cedis.
So that's what we have.
Yes, 240,000 as at the end of December 2020.
So Achimota School has an endowment fund of 240,000 Ghana cedis. And I quickly want to check, maybe find a way to convert that into dollars to give us a clearer picture.
$50,000.
Divided by 5.7. So we have about $42,000 to our name as the great OA. I mean, Achimota School, and for me, it's a sad day. I mean, to hear this is very sad. You know, looking at what Achimota is and the kind of people that Achimota has raised over the years. I believe that there are Akoras who can give us $42,000 and it wouldn't affect their budget or it won't affect their lifestyle in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know what the problem really is, but like I keep saying, I think we have to really look at how we are communicating. We have to get some committees very efficient. We have to look at the people who are willing to work, to do something, and not necessarily people who want to occupy positions for position's sake, you know, but people who are hungry to see something happening, because there must be a change. I mean, there must be a change. With all due respect to my elders and my fellow mates and my genius on the platform this evening, we should really bow our heads in shame if after all these years, all we can boast of in our endowment fund is $42,000. And we have great Akoras all over the place. I mean, we have, like Professor said, we have Akoras who are managing banks, managing entrepreneurs, doing big, big things all over the world. We've had presidents, we've had ministers, we've had every big thing you can think of. So I think we really, really have to go back to the drawing table and begin to see what we are doing right and what we are doing wrong, and try to improve. Because what is happening is, if you look at this meeting that we are having right now, majority of the people on this platform are our seniors and fathers. So there is a situation where the younger generation is not so keen, not so interested in the affairs of Achimota School. And I think those are some of the things that we really have to look at. The commitment issues are some of the things that we really have to look at. But once again, $42,000 is a pity. I mean, we all have to look at it and you know, I don't know what to say, but $42,000. So, Professor, you said that we are going to set a target for the next 1 year of $1 million. And I'm sure that with this communication that is going on, and which we hope to continue, because we don't want this to die. We don't want this movement to die. I mean, to have a situation where we have all these, honorable people, all of you, I can't mention names, but to have all of you here this afternoon listening into this conversation and realizing that we only have $42,000 to our name, and realizing that we were there and we saw that things happen. We saw, look at the lands that were encroached. They just didn't come about. It wasn't just an overnight thing. it happened over time. And it so happened that over 300 acres of our land has been taken. We have to put some systems in place to see how we can redeem the situation, because the name Achimota and $42,000 is a big issue. I believe that
Akora, you've made your point, but with two illustrious vice chancellors from Akora, vice chancellor from Legon, if you compare what the Legon Endowment Fund is percentage-wise, it's not in our culture. And I think it's events like this that will, if we can do more of this, and it was so informative and well put together by Prof. Aryeetey that you know, it will spur everybody to perhaps dig into their pockets. And greetings to Prof. Akora Ivan. I'm glad you look so well.
Very well said, Dr. Baita. So we have to really look at it and see what we are going to do. I mean, today time is fast spent. I wanted us to touch on.
I think Akora Spielgraber is dying to say something.
Please unmute yourself, Dr. Spielgraber. Please unmute yourself.
Yes. Am I?
Yes, we can hear
on
you
now?
Yeah.
Well, let me thank Honorable Chairperson of the OAA for allowing me to intervene, and for you, the host, for those events and for the efforts you've been making for some time now to keep us better informed. I probably decided to intervene because of your reference to the importance of communication and how it may help us to understand better what is going on, and therefore how we can contribute more than we have so far. So the president of the OAA should be also commended for undertaking these initiatives that are intended to give us all better information. I wanted to draw attention to an alert to something we may all be aware of, but which we may not have taken seriously enough, which is the fact that the one segment of the OAA alumni are those like us who spent 5 years or 7 years in Achimota. But with the coming into existence of the SHS and JSH system, we are aware that most people do not spend more than 3 years now in Achimota or in any other senior secondary school. And therefore, the obvious fact is that their commitment to their alma mater will not be the same intensity as those of us, the older generation. And so if we are beginning to notice a diminution and a dilution or reduction in passion for the school, then it is a warning signal that we may all have to take into account in how we go forward to maintain the excitement and the sense of attachment that we've had to Achimota for all these years. And it's in that context that I also want to commend those of you who are talking about endowment funds and various ways of fundraising and so forth. But I will conclude my intervention, because there may be other people who want to say a few words, with the idea that while we are very well organized, or we seem to be relatively better organized in terms of year groups, which is one way in which we organize ourselves, we may not be as well organized in terms of houses dormitories that we belong to, because some people may be a little better attached to the blue, red, green of the color that they wore for their games in Achimota. And also, we may want to reflect on the merits of the different professional groupings that we all belong to. So there are those who may be healthcare, medical, banking, legal, communications, marketing, etc. And there may be merit in considering this kind of matrix-like organizational structure so that it's not just the anniversary or the numerical type of the year group approach, where we are only thinking in terms of whether we were in Achimota at a particular time or not. So people who may not have been in Achimota at the same time may relate to each other because they are all healthcare workers, all legal people, etc., etc. So maybe it's happening, and I don't know, but I thought you'd be able to reflect on that as well. Finally, there was a time when I was in the United States, and when I was OAA president at that time, when there was a colleague of ours who actually, we had another endowment fund, let's put it that way, was also started at that time. And I think Professor Sai and others were involved. And I don't know how those ones have also been, as it were, blended or collapsed into this National Endowment Fund. Because I know of different funds that I think are controlled by the UK group and the US group, and then etc. at different points. So is there a process by which they all come together, or are these groups keeping their separate funds in their own separate areas, and therefore we don't have the, the benefits of consolidation? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Prof, what do you have to say to that, please?
Yeah, I know that the UK fund has folded up. That I know was done about 2 years ago, folded up. The trust and the whole deed was brought to a close 2 years ago. The US one, I don't have any information about. I have heard about people informally talking about some endowments that were established in the 80s in the US, but nothing has officially been brought to our attention. Quite a number of people have also mooted the point or the idea of establishing various arrangements in the US that will allow people resident in the US to be able to contribute to a fund and make these tax deductible. Clearly, it all depends on residents and all these other facilities that can be made available. I think that we can look into, but the fund that we have here established is for everybody, regardless of where you live, whether in the UK or in the US and so on. We are going to relaunch it. Yao is going to help us work with the assets fund and then put this in place. I see Joel Nette's hand up. I think he also has something to say on this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Joel.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, thank you very much. Good afternoon to, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to Accras all over the world. Shanti, thank you very much. Shanti, thank you very much for doing this. I think it's very innovative. And it will be beneficial for the OAA. Now, as some of you know, I'm actually the vice president of the OAA, and I was the chairperson of the 90th anniversary planning committee. Now, in those two capacities, I've had to engage across a lot of the time over the last 5-6 years, and I know that the apathy amongst across when it comes to supporting Achimota School is disheartening, to say the least. That said, there are also a few across who are committed, diehard, and will do anything that they possibly can to support the school. So I think we should take advantage of this gathering here, this movement, quote unquote, and start that process that Prof has just spoken about, raising $1 million for the endowment fund, and $1 million that will put in investment proceeds from which they will then go to begin to support Hashimoto School. We talk a good game as across, and a lot of the time when the rubber meets the road, people then shy away. So let's take advantage of the interest that is being shown. Let's start a drive to find 1,000 across to give Achimota School $1,000 each. That's $1 million. I don't think it's out of place. It may be a stretch for some people, but I'm sure that in the Akora family across the world, we will find 1,000 Akoras to give Hashimoto School $1,000 each. Maybe we should actually start now by asking people to put their hands up in the chat or something. Akora Eunice, who's the executive secretary, is here. We can begin to take names and numbers and then start the conversation. Of course, the endowment fund will work out the modalities of accountability and everything. But let's take action. I mean, we talk a good game, but then a lot of the time, unfortunately, action is delayed. So, given this momentum that's building, let's put the word out there and let's start now. That will be my contribution. Shanti, thank you very much.
I really agree with you on that. I believe you are the first to give us $1,000, and we can go around and begin to get people to commit to $1,000 over a year. So if you break it down, it's technically less than $100 every month. And if you break it down, it's less than $25 every week. It is doable. I'm committed to it. So how many Akoras on this platform this afternoon, evening, morning are willing to give $1,000 towards the endowment fund? Okay. Apart from the commitment, I believe that Joel talked about diehard Akoras and people who are not so committed to the cause. I believe the apathy is a result of, again, communication. I mean, when you listen to people across the divide, you hear things like, oh, what are they going to use the money for? We don't see what they are doing. We don't see that. So I believe that if we have a system where whatever is being done is being communicated effectively, and I believe we have a lot of communication consultants on this platform right now. If we put a system in place and run it properly like a business, I'm sure we will be able to achieve $1 million and more next year by this time. So I don't know, but my thing is, I believe it's a communication thing. Akora Richardson wanted to say something. I don't know if he still wants to say something. And then there's somebody, Ame, who also wants to say something. So if you can unmute and say what you want to say, that would be great. We'll be rounding up in the next 13 minutes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, I may go ahead. I'll do after you.
Okay, my name is Ernest Nyadu from the 92-year group. With regard to the contribution to the endowment fund, I think that it's not for want of trying or down to communication. I think the endowment fund team have reached out at least to us enough. And I think it's on the back of that communication with the 92-year group that efforts have been made to make sure that at least 92 we're in good standing as far as the payment is concerned. However, it's not without a bit of resistance. And that resistance, I somehow share the opinions that members have brought forward, that increasingly OAA is losing its grip on a school that they so much want to impact. So after you have made your contribution, you have no direct or indirect benefit. You do not influence anything, but then your contribution is gone. If that is going to be the case, they're very willing to make the contribution, but how about that contribution going to a school that they can own through a school board? It's like we're trying to collect money and then cram ourselves into a space that we are not wanted. Or so many other people say they're stakeholders because the school is a government school. Yes, can we contribute, but then that contribution goes to a school that is newly started? People have raised all sorts of issues. So if we can listen to what members are saying, I think their contributions will come. It is because members don't have there's no benefit at the end of the day to their contribution, apart from what we've mentioned, the parties and the hangouts. If we can make it beneficial to them, more or less, I'm sure more people would want to engage. And speaking about people doing 2.5 years of Achimota School, maximum 3 years, that affinity to the school, for me, is going to wane even more because there's so many other things that are taking the attention, the time, and the resources of people who are coming out of school. Today, they're global citizens. They're online here in Ghana doing something, but they're connected to so many other schools at the same time. Are we holding on to something which is in the past and hoping that will carry us into the future? Let's think about it.
Thank you very much. I think you make very, very good points. You made very good points. The whole idea that we need to restructure the school in order that when you make a contribution, you know that that contribution is going to be effectively used for the benefit of a school that you own. And that's what we've been fighting for. We're going to continue fighting for it. In the last interview, I spoke about the efforts that we are trying to initiate to achieve autonomy for the school. So for me, it's important that the young Akoras remain committed and help us to fight that battle that will lead to some form of autonomy that will allow us to effectively determine the fate of the school. So yes, let's do that. But the part I didn't quite like about your listen was the what benefit, look at it as giving back as opposed to what personal benefit. The last time we spoke, I did emphasize the need for us to always look at what we are doing for Achimota School as giving back, as opposed to thinking about what benefit personally you derive from the contribution you make. I agree with you that we need to own the school. We need to own the school, be able to influence how it is run in order to bring up the standards again. That's our mission, and we will count on your support.
Any other? Akora Richardson, please.
I wanted to read two short sections of the Endowment Trust Fund Administrators Report for 2020. It's already been said, communication, but I just want to read these little portions. All year group heads have been contacted by phone regarding the Endowment Trust Fund and our newsletters. The Endowment Trust Fund produces newsletters, and our newsletters were sent to those who wanted elaboration on the activities of the fund. Due to COVID-19, this year, 2020, the administrator could not visit any year group, but direct phone calls were made to presidents of the year groups to honor their obligations to the fund. That's the first part. The second part is on the newsletter. Achimota School Endowment Trust Fund newsletter was published on the 26th May 2020 and was circulated online to update Akoras on all activities of the fund, its accounts, and the way forward. It was sent through email, WhatsApp, AC2010, and LinkedIn to year group presidents to be forwarded to their members, individual Akoras whose addresses are in the trust database were also sent copies. All year group heads and representatives have been contacted to confirm their receipt of the newsletter. This is just to say that the efforts are being made to communicate, to disseminate, to inform. Year group heads, most have been told, have been contacted. Before 2020, when she was able to go around, she would ring, find out when a year group is meeting, and attend a meeting. And this is all usually in the late afternoon, evening, weekends, and so on. She would attend just to bring the message across, just to provide newsletter, just to explain what the endowment trust fund is about. And sometimes, if she's lucky, to collect the 500 CDs that a year group should be giving. It's not for want of trying. We've tried. There are limitations, but we've tried. We've tried a lot. Somebody said, or some people say, what is the money used for? Whenever the OAA has an annual general meeting, which in the past used to be every other year, the Endowment Trust Fund produces audited accounts for its activities. And these audited accounts are part of the documentation that are provided at the AGMs. When the OAA is able to upload these things onto the OAA website, that information is also made available. So at least there's an accounting for the resources of the Endowment Trust Fund. And that is where 240,000 CDs came from the president. That's their report for 2020. So it's not that they are not trying or we are not trying. Someone has said the apathy of Akoras or some Akoras, and some too are very committed and dedicated. We all need to put our shoulders to the wheel and find ways of improving the situation so that we can make things better. For the Endowment Trust Fund, whatever comes in must be invested, and the returns out of that are what can be used to assist the school. So even if you collect $1 million today, you can't use $1 million to assist the school. You have to invest, and the returns therefrom are what will go into assisting the school. So the larger the amount we can collect and invest, the larger the amount we can reap to help the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Akora Richardson. Thank you very much. Time is fast spent. We like to keep it pretty short and brief. Today, we are already at 1 hour and 43 minutes past the time we started. We will take about 2 more questions, and then we can call it an evening for today. And we will definitely announce when the next interview is going to be. And apart from that, what we are going to do is subsequently, we are going to arrange to talk to other Akoras. I mean, Akora Aryeetey, we would like to talk to you very soon. We would like to talk to, different Akoras across the globe to get this thing going, because we need to engage. We need to engage. We need to regroup. We need to do what is right for Achimota. As Prof said, they are also trying to do what it is that they can do to help us with the lands issue and to make sure that things are going the way they have to go. As Akora Eunice said, people want to see that they have a say in what they are given to and not just giving for giving's sake. So eventually we pray and we hope that with the influence of the Akoras on this platform and Akoras globally, we can be able to have that autonomy that we need to be able to have a say in the affairs of Achimota School. Indeed, it really hurts when you have to contribute to the school and you don't really have a say in what goes on in the school. I can understand where Akora Eunice was coming from. So we hope that eventually we'll be able to engage the powers that be to give us that autonomy and be able to move forward the way we have to move forward. Do we have anybody else who has a question to ask or a contribution to make?
Yes, we do. If you don't mind, I'll just chip in a little bit here. My name is Kwame Dakwa, or Albert Dakwa. And thank you so much for putting this together and calling our year group out, 1983. I think what I would want to say is their 83-year group, we have had an incident where we have a laptop which is presented to some best students each year. And unfortunately for us, we have not been able to put forth a president. And I asked Professor Aryeetey if the list of the presidents for each year group could be made available. And I think that should be made available. We should have easy access to it, whereby anybody can have access to know who is their year group's president. And if they don't have one, then they can put forth a name to represent them. Then we will be able to gather together to put that money forward, because definitely we do have funerals, birthdays, everything that we contribute to and share, and we should be able to come up with that money. So I think we should make sure that each year group knows who their president is, or who their president has been, or who their president will be. So let's make sure that each year group knows that, then we will go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Can I make a last minute request?
Sure.
My name is Rowena Akora, 75-year group. Now, my suggestion is, if we are going to, or if you are going to meet the presidents of all the year groups, maybe you want to create something like a scheduler, so that it's posted on various website platforms that we have. And then just like how we're having this forum, you can indicate when you're going to meet, let's say the 89-year group, to have a talk with them. Maybe that will help to bring a lot of people together in terms of year groups. And then you can tell them exactly what we have talked about on this forum today, in terms of raising funds and when you hear more from them. So think about that. Set up a scheduler, maybe every other week, you meet one year group, you discuss. Then the following year, 2 weeks, we can do that. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Yeah, we'll see how best we can do something like that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Akora Rowena. Anybody else? On my schedule for today, I mean, I had in mind to talk about the performance of the students in the school, but time is far spent, so we will leave that for the next interview, and we will come to the performance and other matters in the next interview. Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful. It's been, I believe a lot of questions have been answered. I believe we are all up to speed in the area of these land issues, the war issues, the encroachment issues, the endowment fund. I mean, I didn't know much about it. And at least for now, I know where we stand and what the endowment committee is trying to do. We leave this evening with the knowledge that we are trying to raise 1 million for the next 1 year for Achimota School. I believe we can do better. We can even do better than that. But I hope that the OAA, together with the different year group presidents, will be able to put together a strategy and communicate that strategy. I'm big on communication now, get the message across, and we can all do the little we can to support the movement. And I also pray that this movement doesn't die. And when we call on people to come, they will make the time. We will find a suitable time. I believe this time is a bit not too convenient for people, but going forward, we will find a very convenient time that works for everybody, and so that we're able to get a lot more people on board for these discussions. So once again, thank you. Somebody just sent a message that we have to sing the school song to end the meeting today. But before we end, I want to say a big thank you for all that you do, Professor. We appreciate you a lot. We thank you for your time. We thank you for the research that went into this. We thank you for the communication, the information you just gave us today. It's wonderful. So thank you so much. More so you being a very busy man and making this time to talk to us. We appreciate it. And we hope that as time goes on, the reconstituted board will take its place and things will begin to unfold the way they have to unfold. Long live Achimota. Once again, my name is Akora Shanti McCarthy, and all we do is we try, and the show is Time with Shanti, and all we try to do is get information and knowledge about Achimotans and everything Achimota related across. So thank you for your time once again, and we are going to sing the school song led by Akora Zan. Akora Zan is going to lead us, and we are going to sing the school song, and after that, we are done for this evening. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless Achimota School.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
You're muted.
You're muted. Just saying, Shanti, I'm going to have you. You owe me one, a big one for this, dropping me in this one. You dropped me in. Okay, here we go. From everybody, please join me. From Gambaga
to Accra,
from we are so
to
Kita.
Yeah,
brothers and our mother in the school. Together we
each
This is obviously a bad idea.
And then he's the head of the host, in the school of we boast. He's the glory of the coast.
I think you'll find a recorded version for the next one.
I think so.
She's the head of He's the glory of Awesome.